The news has asked that we use our speakers. Okay, are you ready, Pete? Ready to go. Okay, well, welcome everybody to the noon meeting, Wednesday, February 10th, 2016 council meeting. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, and Shelley, would you do roll call for us?
I can. Albertson is absent. Bueller? Here. Danforth?
Here.
Manty? Here. Riefenberger?
Here.
Roby? Absent. Solom?
Here.
Thorson?
Here.
Tupper? Absent. Vilhauer?
Here.
Thank you.
I think Randy will be here. I know that a couple of the others are out of the area. So at this time, I will look for a motion and a second for approval of the agenda. Motion by Mike, second by John. Any questions, any changes? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 2, authorization to advertise for bids for essential air service at the airport. Todd, if you would come up and kind of give us an idea. I mean, we all have an idea, but if you'd fill us in what's going on, you know, because it seems to change so rapidly.
Yeah.
There will be questions asked of you also.
Okay. Do you want to start with the questions? Maybe that'll ease.
No, go ahead and fill us in first, and then we'll throw the questions at you.
Okay. So yes, we're asking your authorization to go back out for bids. We had a little lapse with ADI. It's a restructural bankruptcy that Seaport Airways had filed on Monday. So what that means is they're separating the two companies. It's the same owner for ADI and Seaport. That is the only common denominator we have with the two companies now. The employees will be separated, the planes will be separated, the financials are separated. So a couple of weeks ago, we did get financial fitness through the DOT and on ADI. Seaport Airways has been flying for over 25 years. Maybe longer, and they've been financially fit for a while. The problem is they've had some run-ins with some bad contracts and losing money, and a lot of airlines do this to restructure their company as far as pilots, aircraft, contracts. So this is nothing new to the airline industry for filing Chapter 11. So with that said, like I said, I think it'd be for the best interest of Watertown to go back out for bids to see what potentially else is out there. At this time, Pier is actually going out for bids. They announced that this morning, that they're going back out for essential air service bids as well. Probably be Monday time frame.
And you've got the paperwork ready, am I correct?
Correct. For
Okay.
our RFP,
Now,
I have our
would
paperwork.
I ask you, do we put in this RFP that we want to do this alone as other cities have done?
We will bid this as Watertown for the Watertown EAS funding, correct. We will not add any other cities in.
Okay, so guys, what I'd like to do, I want to get it so that we can go out for this rebid as soon as possible. We're not going to do the emergency bid. We'll do the normal bidding process. But I'd like to get a motion in a second to actually get that end of it done. Then I think we have a lot of questions. You know, that's not going to involve the bidding process, if that's okay with the group. So what I'd like to do is look for a motion in a second. I got motion by Beth, second by Bruce. Any questions then that of what we're doing? We're going to go out for a rebidding process.
The last time we did the bid, we had to get approval or whatever through FAA because we had the other airlines. So is this something we can do on our own, or this
No.
basically, they still have to approve the process, and this is just asking them to do that? Is that what we're doing?
I have spoke with the DOT yesterday, both Kevin Schlemmer and Michael Gormas, the top two positions at the DOT that we deal with at the Transportation Unit, and they both recommend that we do go back out for bids. Since we have a bid that's 6 months old, this will align us with Pier as well, so we'll have an end date the same time Pier has their end date, just to give the airlines a little more options to bid both Watertown and Pier if they would like. They can also just bid Watertown
Right.
to Minneapolis, Denver. We've even had some talks of going to Chicago, so in a little bigger plane. So there's options
Also,
out there.
If you would clarify, I was asked by others here to clarify that the DOT we're talking about is Washington Department
Correct,
of Transportation.
federal DOT.
Okay, yeah, we just want to make that clear.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and have this vote, and then there's going to be a lot of questions asked about how this process happened.
I've got a question, though, before we vote concerning the bidding process, and maybe just in general, because I'm new to this on my end. I mean, are we sure that we're contacting all the parties? I mean, the bidding process, I mean, we're reaching out to all the parties that need to be aware of our bidding?
The DOT takes care of that for
Okay,
us.
okay.
When we request a rebid, they will send out a mass email allowing everybody to know what's going on, and it'll be posted in the regulations.gov under a docket number.
Todd and Mayor, I do believe, didn't you specifically reach out and try to solicit some bids into Watertown on the previous go-round?
Yes.
Yes.
Right,
yeah,
so those
we-
efforts have taken place to the extent that we can, and probably will again, I'm
Well,
gonna
we will.
guess.
There's
We'll
potential.
we'll
But-
be reaching out.
but
to
all we can do is
SkyWest,
solicit them
Pen
to
Air.
bid.
There's
There'll be,
numerous ones. I remember talking to the guy up in Alaska, and
Yep. There's new airlines that have
about
came
the
into play
bear
in
hunt we
just the
could go
last
on.
week. So
I was thinking about going on a bear hunt. You want to go along? We'll go talk
so-
to the airline.
So what is anticipated for the, because we were essentially looking at what, in a couple of months, things were gonna be intact now. Where does this set us back to? Or we don't know for sure, I imagine, but what?
correct. I would say a good time frame is July, August.
And I guess we
Or
don't
if
know.
I-
Do we anticipate we're gonna be entertaining a bid from the same place again then too?
It could
We
happen.
could,
Let's
yes.
go ahead and get this vote done, and then we can throw all the questions to you, and you should have every answer for us. I'm
Perfect.
proud of you. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now throw some questions at Todd on this thing. A lot of it is really dealing with the financial fitness test that was taken, and I think that we need to be aware that Seaport, the DOT did not do a financial fitness test on Seaport.
Correct.
Because you had two separate companies, am I right? So go ahead and explain that.
Sure, and it's kind of a mess the way it looks on paper, but as the DOT explained to me, it's actually a pretty good move for Seaport to. It's a good move for ADI to get out of Seaport or underneath Seaport. So the financial fitness is done for ADI. They have their operations manuals they have to get approved from the FAA. And they're in process of doing that. ADI is in process of doing that right now out of the Atlanta office. They deal with these guys twice a week. So that should be, I'm guessing within 30 days, they'll get those documents back. They also have to go to the shareholders and if there's any changes in the company as far as president, vice president, or any monies transferred, then they go and they check the airplanes records. And so that's the final step that they do, just to verify that the airplanes are owned by ADI and they're sound aircraft, which they're flying 135 operations now with these aircraft, so there will be no problems with that.
Now, I'm under the understanding that Pier will not entertain ADI now.
I
Is that
wouldn't,
correct?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
You know, I think it was a knee-jerk reaction at best. You know, I believe that if a 50-seat jet comes into the bid proposals, I believe it's going to be looked at very heavily due to the fact that there's just not a whole bunch out there in that caliber of flying.
Okay.
So I believe, yes, they will entertain the idea, especially if we go back over bids. You know, if we go back out for a 30-day bid, you know, a lot of this stuff will be cleared up in 30 to 60 days. And so at that point, everything will be in line with ADI if they do decide to bid on us again and Pier.
Okay.
It'll make the decision a lot easier. at that point.
Has ADI contacted us yet? in any way?
I have a meeting set up tomorrow morning with them.
Okay.
But yes, they've contacted me earlier
Yeah.
this week.
Could you pass along some information about Great Lakes, what's happened in
Sure.
in the very recent days?
Yeah, in the very recent days, Thief River Falls, Minnesota, went back out for bids. So how it goes now, it goes from Pier, Huron, Minneapolis, Thief River Falls, and then back. And then they rotate their planes for maintenance in Denver. So they have to get all their planes from Thief all the way back to Denver. So that's the route they're choosing now. Thief River went back out for bids, and they did get 2 airlines to bid on them. Boutique, and I think it's Era, maybe, just a paper company again. So the only solid bid they got was Boutique. They can reject all bids in Thief and go back out for bids to align them with us and Pier, which is actually a fairly smart move on their part, due to the fact that Huron lost service, or is losing service. They got their termination letter on Monday, I believe it was, from the federal government. They went over the $1,000 per person subsidy cap, as we explained back with the Great Lakes days. For us, they actually went over, and the federal government is pulling their subsidy pretty much forever. So they will not have service in Huron. The latest date is September 30, 16, federal fiscal year end. But in anticipation of that, I believe they'll lose service a lot earlier than that, due to the fact that Thief River went out for bids and is proposing a new airline, and Pier also with us is going back out for bids. So if Pier chooses anybody else other than Great Lakes is probably going to pull back and go to Denver, and they won't be on the east side of Denver from here on out.
I guess I'm confused. Okay, we got Seaport, we've got ADI, and ADI met the fiscal financial fitness test in and of its own right without relying upon Seaport, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what does Seaport's Chapter 11 filing necessarily mean to ADI then?
Nothing.
Okay,
Absolutely nothing.
so
What it does is it separates the companies.
right, I understand that. So our decision to go back out for bids is still being driven, to me, the way it sounds like in our anticipation of Pier rejecting ADI's bid. Is that
That's
the
correct.
fair statement? Okay, what happens now, but if Pier has not totally made up their minds on this, what happens if we go out for bids and ADI, and we don't get any bids or any bids that we want to pursue? In the meantime, Pier accepts ADI. Where does that leave us relative to ADI then?
They're not allowed to accept their bid. That's why they're going back out for bids.
Okay.
That they had a meeting yesterday afternoon, and their council decided to go back out for bids and reject all bids. So at this point, they cannot go back and say,
Okay.
well, we want to accept that.
Okay.
So
And Todd and the mayor and Shelley or whoever's involved in this is not a questions or statements that either are pointing fingers at any of you or us, or it's just I gotta ask myself, when the vice president of airline services, Mickey something Bowman, Skyped in and we went through their proposal with us. That proposal was heavily backed by the funding of Seaport. I mean, that's really where the strength came in my mind, and I just revisited that Skype video today, and that's all fine and dandy. But I don't know the corporate structure. When you have a parent company and then a subsidiary like ADI, I don't know, and Glenn, you're probably more aware than I, the transfers of assets that can go back and forth with that. And I know it can happen.
But we don't have a parent-sub relationship.
not anymore.
Not at the time, here's my point, at the time that their proposal was brought to us, the time that we approved them, at the time that the feds did their financial evaluation of them, they were married, correct?
No, I think that's incorrect, because I think it was married together when we brought it, but when they put the proposal for the financial fitness test, the two companies have been split.
Well, they had already
They had
split.
Correct.
So
That was
they
my
did the
understanding.
financial
And they did
fitness
That's not
of
what I
ADI
understood.
and
They-
not of Seaport.
Yep, they did a financial fitness on ADI only. They don't care what Seaport has to. Correct. The only, like I said, the only denominator is the owner of the companies. Everything else is separated. And financially, ADI will finance themselves, Seaport will finance themselves.
Obviously, the first question that's going to happen when we get any proposal on it is, how do we know financial viability on whatever company bids?
We don't.
So this
I mean,
is just,
Delta's did this,
we're winging it with
Delta's done this
with the
100
trust
times.
that the the federal DOT has done their job, right?
correct. And you can only do your job so far. I mean,
Right,
if,
I know,
they,
yep.
if they don't tell anybody they're going to file Chapter 11, nobody knows, until it hits the actual, the filing of Chapter 11, and we have no idea. And United had done this a while back, Delta's done this, SkyWest has done this. So it's, I hate to say it, but it's kind of a common thing in the airline industry.
So potentially, in light of what we just heard about Great Lakes Aviation, if we get a bid from ADI, that would take us the other direction. I mean, that would be that could be a possibility.
Yeah, we think that it's a very good possibility that at some point in time when Great Lakes does pull out of the eastern side of South Dakota and basically really South Dakota, that it will open up a spot at Minneapolis Airport.
Yeah.
And I think somebody will be grabbing that spot, and when we certainly hope it's who we want. So, yeah. Well, guys, any other questions for Todd? I know it's a troubling thing. It's something that we didn't expect. But
Question,
might work
if
out.
that happens and proposals come in and say, ADI or somebody else says, okay, here's our proposal going to Denver, and somebody else comes with a proposal to go to Minneapolis, is it a either or is it a open to, you could have both?
No, it's either or.
So as far as the FAA, there's gonna be one airline, they're not gonna.
Correct.
Because of the subsidy portion of it?
Correct.
And when Pier went out last time, they had a couple of Nebraska cities that were tied into their bid, and those cities no longer are being served by, well, they have a different airline than Great Lakes now. So.
Correct. They're a boutique, and they're
Yeah.
actually. I spoke with the DOT yesterday, the federal DOT yesterday, and I asked the question about how is boutique doing, because they grew pretty rapidly in a year, and usually when that happens, there's some kind of downfall to that, and the DOT says no, they're absolutely they're pulling back when they have to pull back, and they're putting their money where it counts, and they're doing a really good job in these
Yeah.
communities.
And those
there
are
was,
neat
there was a couple of
airplanes.
communities that went up 400% in passengers.
Wouldn't take us much though, Todd.
Thanks.
I'm just saying. It would-
Todd, is there a list of current EAS providers and the markets that they serve? Is there a? I looked for that prior to coming here today on the internet, and I couldn't find anything. Is there something out there that says, okay, here's the EAS program, and here's everybody that's in it, got under contract, and here's the areas that they serve?
Yep.
There is something like that.
Yes.
It-
We get quarterly reports from the federal government on all airports that are served with EAS funding.
Okay, is that something that you could forward to us, just as well, at least to me anyway, as a kind of an FYI thing
Sure.
until
the boutique, they fly those little speedy rocket jets.
Yeah, 8-seat Pilatus. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not 8 or 9 seats.
8 or 9 seaters.
And it's all executive seating, so you sit in a captain's chair. They're really, really nice planes. They're really fast. They're about as fast as the 50-seat jets, actually. You're looking about an hour and 20 minutes to Denver from here in that plane, about 25 minutes to Minneapolis. But the downfall is there's only 8 or 9 seats. But the nice thing is you're very comfortable flying in that 8 or 9 seats. There is a bathroom on the plane as well, so that helps.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it. And I wish you the best on that. I wish you the best for Watertown on this, because we need some more positive news. Any old business? Hearing none. Any new business? Any need to go into executive session? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mike and Beth, second by Beth. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.